Have you lived a life of tragedy, ongoing tragedy, adversity, and what just seems ongoing, consistent oppression? But have you been able to see yourself through and see your way through the oppression, the adversity, the obstacles, and been able to find the light at the end of the tunnel? Been able to find your inner strength going because you knew that you had a greater purpose, not just for yourself, but for those around you, those in the world. A purpose that you knew was supposed to contribute to the world in a huge way, maybe in the way of contributing to saving the world. Well, have you interacted with and saw the world from a universal consciousness, a wider breadth, long before, early on in your childhood or in your life, long before other adults that you would notice were? Have you always just seemed to just have this awareness, this knowing? Have people called you even an old soul in a young body? Have you just been like more conscious of your surroundings, being able to really predict or see how situations unfold around you, even being able to avoid more adversity or strategize to get out of these oppressive, adverse situations? You may be what is considered, or what people are saying or say, are a chosen one. The chosen ones are the 144,000 talked about and mentioned in the Bible, but in other holy scriptures, other texts, other holy texts, held in really high regard. So let's talk about the chosen ones. So the chosen ones, there are a couple of different popular theories behind them. Anything from anyone being that the chosen ones, the 144,000 mentioned in the Bible, are warriors, humans that are descendants of the original tribes of Israel, the tribes of Judah, from which Jesus Christ of Nazareth is a descendant. They are considered, again, disciples, not just followers of Jesus Christ, but real embodiments of Jesus Christ's consciousness and the belief system and what Jesus Christ stood for, really meant to usher in new earth, a new way of being on earth, a new heaven even. Which brings me to the other popular theory, is that the Jews and Israelites, those communities, even black Hebrews or black Israelites, sharing that theory, that commonality, that they are the 144,000 chosen descendants of, again, Jesus Christ of Nazareth, the original tribes of Judah, being the chosen ones that are meant to inherit the kingdom of God, inherit heaven, and usher in, again, new earth, heaven on earth. The theory of heaven on earth, ushering in heaven on earth, in this 144,000 even being found within Jehovah's Witnesses in in other, again, religions, Orthodox religions, faiths, structures, and belief systems, all associated with these divine, specific people that are covered with a seal from God, from Jesus Christ incarnate, meant for ushering in, again, this new earth. Now, when we think of new earth or talk about new earth, it is the association or conception of what we in the spiritual community and what other people think of when we even talk about new earth being universal consciousness, universal love, a higher 5D consciousness awareness, where you no longer see yourself as an individual, but you understand that we are all connected in this oneness, that we are one consciousness with individual unique contributions or individualizations that contribute to that one whole. Individuations, there you go, that contribute to the greater whole. So that concept is consistent throughout all of the theories and the beliefs or religions in regards to what new earth and heaven on earth would look like, or what it, I guess, figuratively and conceptually means. Now, the arguments really are about the literalism, right? And then also this literalism about the 144,000. Now, the key attributes that are shared within these theories is that these 144,000 are people that have experienced oppression and tragedy and have been enslaved or oppressed during this Babylonian age, this last 450, 500 years. And this is where the contrasting opinions and theories conflict, right? The Black Israelites and Jews, or Jewish community, argue that the original tribes of Judah, the original Israelites, were cursed because they didn't follow original commandments and a covenant made with God's source previously, like earlier in humanity, and as a result were destined to live a certain amount of years, 400 years or 450 years, I believe, specifically in, I guess, captivity or enslavement to the communities, societies that they would live in generationally, and that they would be mistreated and really be at the bottom of the totem pole. So Black Israelites, along with other members of the Black community, even I myself, think about how much it makes sense that to be Black is the negation of whiteness, and we've been, as Black people, subjected to and subjugated to white supremacy for over 400 years, just as slaves, and then like descendants of slaves in the USA for like the last 400 years, right? And then when you think conceptually about colonialism and imperialism, but definitely colonialism, and again how white supremacy is widespread internationally, universally, throughout the world and throughout pretty much all ethnic groups in different races and creeds of people. In fact, racism being a social structure that was created by colonists who were in power and who wanted to, again, subjugate groups of people into these different social statuses in different groups, these different economic statuses based off of self-worth, right, and identity and value. And they came up with this caste, these social categories associated with features and these pseudosciences around features in a class of identity based off of, again, those pseudosciences and that race, associated specifically with black people having darker skin and specific features that made them more animalistic, thus making them less civilized, thus putting them at the bottom, the lowest level, and like white people at the highest level, and how that's carried for centuries, not just in the US, but really throughout the world and through all cultures, that white supremacy and colorism, featureism, issues of status, class, and economic standing associated with race and the way you show up in that way, still, again, are all affected and still show up in all ethnicities, in all countries, and groups of people, wherever colonization, and even places where colonization didn't work, but people have access to history and media and tourism, because people still bring their issues and that energy with them when they come. And if that's the only exposure you've had to the outside world, even when you haven't been colonized, that things are set up based off of race, associated with class, economic status, and who's worthy versus who isn't, who's civilized versus who isn't, and who needs to be civilized versus who doesn't. And we look at that history, it is true that, again, black people stand at the bottom of the totem and the bottom of the barrel in really, again, all groups all over the world. So that being said, I do agree with the perspective or the concept that if indeed there was a race of people or a group of people that were deemed cursed for a certain amount of time, you could definitely say it would be black people, and not even just black Americans. That if you just want to go by like timeline that you can specifically calculate, like scientifically, you could go with black Americans, because again, slavery being in the 1600s and it's now 2020, it's been about 400 years, and I think we're finally coming through the tunnel, and we're gonna have a shift in the paradigm, which shows, the curse lifting. It makes sense. So I could understand why black Israelites, say that black people are, quote unquote, the 144,000 are the chosen ones in that regard, because those people, although they were enslaved and cursed, as it says in the Bible and again in other texts, that those people would rise out of that enslavement, that mistreatment, to receive what was due to them, and to return back to their former glory, and that those who enslaved them would be punished, because again, we all have free will. So even if essentially there is this covenant or this curse, all of the people who took part in doing the enslaving or the mistreatment, they always had free will, they always had free choice, so they could have chosen not to partake in it. And then even you could say, would the curse be enacted if everyone chose not to do it? No. So I think that's also really something significant to really reflect on, or to really hone in on, the fact that we are co-creating the reality. So we can even change universal or cosmic covenants, cosmic results, by co-creating a different reality, making different choices, and showing up differently. Although I do believe personally there is cosmic and universal influence, God's source influence, I do think we are just as empowered to influence those changes, but I digress. But back to the concept of the chosen ones and the 144,000. They are to be restored back to their former glory, and those who enslaved them or mistreated them would be punished. but also that those people would then become the leaders of generations and civilizations, that they would be made to be put at the forefront in ways and be the leaders of how to navigate, because they had experienced generations of enslavement, generations of oppression. They have a different insight. I need to talk about in an upcoming video about how oppression and privilege, while they are polar opposites and so different, how they both contribute to soul growth and soul experience, and they both at the end of the day contribute in the same way to our own individual growth, but again, just differently. It shows up differently, and one is more of a catalyst in one way and the other is a catalyst in another way. So, but yeah, so you guys feel free to comment, like, obviously I hope you will subscribe. I'm thankful for your subscriptions, but feel free to chime in the comments or like the video if any of this resonates with you. Just unpacking of this theology of, again, the chosen ones, the 144,000, and the attributes that come along with it. Oh yeah, and they also talked about the fact that the chosen ones would be associated with melanated people, because the reptilian race here, that invaded race, I mean not race, but the human race, along with other dark entities that invaded the human race, don't have access to melanated bodies, heavily melanated bodies, the way they do to less melanated bodies. And this isn't me being like discriminatory. This is just based off of like the documentaries and the information that's written. I mean, you can look it up and read about it online or watch the documentaries. So that's also been a point that some of these theologists or ideologists have pointed out or put out there too, that Black people are the chosen ones because their characteristics and features wouldn't allow them to be subjected or subjugated to being taken over by reptilians, or the shape-shifting aspect, or being able to invade our bodies, because our frequency is different. Not just based off of our physical attributes, but the physical attributes that attribute to our cellular structuring, due to us harboring and holding sunlight in our melanation and processing it differently. So that's also really something that's interesting to look into and to read about. But yeah, so again, drop comments or kind of give me feedback as to what you guys think. Again, like I said, it makes a lot of sense to me, and I personally definitely feel like I'm a chosen one, and not specifically because I'm a Black woman, but because I am a pioneer, and because I'm totally about raising the consciousness of the collective, and I know that's my purpose, that's my mission. But I also know that my experiences of oppression have only been a catalyst to me wanting to love more, love everyone, and really unite everyone in love, and really like protect, again, teach, guide, and really just emit love and wrap my love around everyone. And I feel like I've had a life full of adversity. I've talked about that in my other videos. But for me to be able to move through and heal through that, to only want to give back to the world and the community and uplift people who are less fortunate than me, I feel like that definitely deems me as a leader in that way, and possibly as one of the chosen ones. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with seeing yourself in that way, or positioning yourself in a powerful way. as long as it's not at the detriment, or you don't think that that necessarily makes you better than someone else. I don't see anything wrong with it. But yeah, drop your feedback. Thanks for being with me, and I'll see you guys back here next time.